Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Almost every landscape photographer like me likes the morning fog. Photos taken in such conditions have a unique atmosphere, depth and mood, and that's why I very often visit the forest in search of such conditions. In today's episode I will show you how I edit photos of trees, because one of the main problems I see in such images is the lack of contrast. Let's go to the Lightroom then, where you can see some examples, and I will show you how I edit selected photo. Okay, here we are in Lightroom, and I have 3 or 4 examples for you, just to show you where this issue with the contrast in Lightroom is. So here's the first image, and as you can see, it's very foggy, but in the same time it's very flat. What you can see here on the histogram, it's very narrow, and mainly it sits in the middle of the dynamic range, so mainly everything is in the midtones. Let's jump to the other picture. Same situation here. It's slightly more contrasty, but on the other hand side, if you look at this image, and again in the histogram, the dynamic range is a bit wider, but still most of the pixels sits in the middle of the dynamic range. And 2 more examples. This tree, I like such images a lot. They are very moody, very atmospheric, but the real issue is again that they usually lack of contrast. Of course, some people may like this type of images and even edit the images into the direction to have no contrast, but in my case I usually try to bring back some contrast and to allow my audience to see some details in these images. Same is here. Again, very nice tree, just the forest in the background, which because of the if I remember correctly, a very open aperture, which is f3.5 and 200 focal length, the background is very blurry, but then the tree, the birch tree, which you have as a subject, is nicely visible, but still without any contrast. Moreover, one thing which you need to avoid, which you have to avoid while shooting the images in the very dense, very thick fog, is to shoot in very high ISO or in high ISO. As you can see, this one was photographed with ISO 1000, but this one was with ISO 100. So if we zoom in, you can see that this image is very clean, while this image, when we zoom in, you can see a lot of grain due to the 1000 ISO, and this grain, this noise, will be even stronger when you will be editing such images in Lightroom. So looking into these examples, you can clearly see that all the images, or majority of the images which you take in the very thick, very dense fog, have no contrast at all, more or less. So how I bring the contrast back to achieve the results, like in this image. So if I press Y in Lightroom, you can right now see the 2 images side by side, and one before and one after. And as you can see, more or less the one on the left hand side without the contrast, and the one on the right hand side where we brought back the contrast thanks to the Lightroom editing. So let's see how it works. I will jump to this image, and it's more or less the same, but just another copy of it. First of all, this image is very blue, and you can see it on the histogram. The blue color, it's kind of dominating the histogram. So I will try to increase the white balance, probably somewhere around 8000 kelvins. And right now we can see that the histogram looks much better. It still sits in mainly in the midtones, but the blue cast is not so strong. And we can try to bring contrast back in different ways, but the one which I would like to show you is by using dehaze slider. And this dehaze slider, it's very interesting. You need to be careful while using this dehaze slider, but if you apply certain tricks, you should be fine. And you shouldn't introduce too much noise to your image, because once you increase the dehaze slider value significantly, then you actually increase the saturation, you increase the contrast, and by that you also increase or bring the noise to your picture. So let's do it first, and let's increase the dehaze to about 65. What you can immediately see is that you can even see the trees in the background, which were there, but because of the very dense, very thick fog, they were more or less invisible. So once we have this one done, let's now do the standard edit, and I will basically increase the saturation, the exposure, and already what you can see, our histogram is much wider. Then I will increase the highlights. Actually, I want to have this background relatively clean, just some shadows of the trees in the background, but not too many details of them. I really want to focus attention on the subject, which is the main tree in the center of the frame. Then I will increase whites, and as you can see right now, my histogram mainly covers the dynamic range from the darkest blacks to the whitest whites. So that looks good to me. Right now I will increase the contrast. I will slightly drop shadows and increase also the exposure a bit more, probably to 0.8, something like that. Touch of contrast and touch of saturation. I will also increase clarity. However, be careful, because if you increase clarity too much, then you will start introducing a lot of extra noise, which you want to avoid. So 15 should be good. And now I will quickly jump to the HSL panel and play a bit with the sliders, especially with the blue one, because as you can see, I still have kind of blue cast in the background. So I will make the luminance of the blue color a bit higher, and then I will also decrease the blue saturation. Then let's move a bit yellow towards oranges, increase the saturation of green, yellow and orange, and also I would like to increase, I would like to increase the luminance of yellow, orange and blue channel, and blue channel. And once again here I would basically push a bit vibrance yet and increase the shadows. It's too dark to me, and I will also slightly drop the saturation and yet increase the white balance to 8.5 thousand more or less. And finally I will go yet to the color grading, and in the color grading panel I will jump to highlights, make it a bit warmer, increase the luminance, check, and with the blending I would like to get a bit of the warmer colors instead of these cold colors. And if I zoom in now, you can clearly see that all the details, all the leaves are clearly visible. So don't be afraid to use dehaze slider, but then compensate the settings of this slider with shadows and blacks by bringing them a bit up, and then it should work. You can see the image before right now, and right now you can see it after. At the end of this episode, I will show you some images taken in foggy conditions. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if so, leave the thumbs up and I will see you in the next episode. Bye bye guys!